chocolate and caramel too.
1970s were a wild time for advertising. Commercials pushed products that would never make it past a single focus group today. From dangerous toys to toxic chemicals marketed as household helpers, these ads normalized behaviors and substances that we now know were actively harmful. This ranking counts down 20 of the most disturbing commercial campaigns from that era, sorted by their level of harm, deception, and lasting impact. 20. Sugary gum commercials in schools. At number 20, sugary gum commercials that made classroom chewing look completely acceptable. These ads showed kids happily chomping away at their desks, blowing bubbles while teachers smiled approvingly in the background. The message was unmistakable. Gum belonged in school, not just at home. One commercial even portrayed chewing as a study aid, with students suddenly focused and energetic after popping a stick. The visuals transformed classrooms into playgrounds, with kids drumming on desks and grinning at adults who somehow found it charming. For children watching at home, this felt like permission to break the rules. Parents assumed gum was harmless, maybe even positive. Teachers knew better but faced cultural pressure from ads that normalized sugar and distraction as part of learning. The result was sticky desks and rebellious behavior modeled directly from television. These commercials turned schools into stages for their products, marketing sugar under the disguise of fun. While not physically dangerous, they manipulated young minds and undermined classroom authority for profit. 19. Car ads without seatbelts. 19th place goes to car commercials that glorified freedom over safety. Families appeared in vehicles with kids bouncing freely in back seats, leaning out windows, waving happily as cars sped down highways. Parents laughed up front while children treated the car like a living room on wheels, with no restraints in sight. Some ads even suggested seatbelts were optional or uncool, framing safety as something that got in the way of fun. Road trips featured picnic baskets, roaming pets, and kids standing between seats as if physics didn't exist. Focus was joy, freedom, and carefree family moments. Safety could wait. Commercials never mentioned crash risks or injuries, instead celebrating the thrill of travel without responsibility. For kids watching, it looked like a dream adventure where rules didn't apply. Parents absorbed the message that restraints were unnecessary for short drives. Looking back with modern crash statistics in mind, these ads feel shockingly reckless. They prioritized style over survival, teaching an entire generation that protecting lives was less important than looking cool on the road. 18. Sugary breakfast bars as health food. Number 18 features breakfast bar ads that weaponize the word wholesome. Companies took candy bars loaded with sugar, chocolate, and syrup, then repackaged them as nutritious morning fuel for kids. Commercials showed smiling families starting their day with these bars, treating them as energy for school, sports, and long days ahead. Athletes and cartoon mascots suggested eating one would make you strong, fast, and focused. Busy parents were told the bars were convenient and healthy, perfect for stuffing into lunchboxes without guilt. In reality, most contained little more than sugar and empty calories dressed up in cheerful packaging. Words like energy and wholesome hid the truth under layers of marketing deception. For children, the commercials transformed candy into something responsible to eat daily. The manipulation worked because it targeted parental anxiety about time and nutrition simultaneously. Parents genuinely believed they were making healthier choices while kids got their sugar fix with a side of false virtue. These ads promised health but delivered nothing more than a sweet rush, setting up poor eating habits that lasted well into adulthood. 17. Diet candy with saccharin. At 17, diet candy commercials that ignored early cancer warnings. These ads framed saccharin-loaded sweets as guilt-free indulgence, showing slim women happily chewing gum or popping candies between meals. The promise was simple: satisfy cravings while losing weight, all without giving up sugar. Commercials featured models on beaches and athletes in motion, suggesting that eating these candies unlocked the secret to a bikini body. Bold slogans declared you can eat all you want without consequences, brushing aside any health concerns. Teen girls were especially targeted, with messages tying beauty and confidence directly to diet versions of regular candy. The campaigns completely ignored emerging studies about saccharin's potential link to tumors in laboratory animals. For families struggling with weight, the message felt like a modern miracle. Parents purchased these products believing they were making healthier swaps while kids enjoyed taste, without questioning the science. Years later, cancer scares would change the conversation entirely, but in the 70s, the ads were casual, upbeat, and deeply reassuring. The ease with which people accepted chemicals as safe sugar replacements remains unsettling, especially given how aggressively companies marketed these products to vulnerable audiences. 16. Soda ads, using medical claims. 16th on the list, soda commercials that blurred refreshment with medicine. Ads suggested cola provided energy, revived moods, and even helped with digestion, treating carbonated drinks as if they carried genuine health benefits. Some campaigns implied soda could settle stomach aches or replace vitamins, presenting fizz as pharmaceutical. Others promised a pick-me-up effect, packaging sugar as a miracle cure for low energy. Doctors in white coats or actors posing as medical experts frequently appeared to back up these claims. Families were shown enjoying soda at dinner tables like it was a cure-all rather than simple indulgence. For teenagers, the message was even more appealing. Drinking soda made you sharper, cooler, and more energetic in one convenient bottle. Parents bombarded by constant messaging often believed it. The ads reinforced the idea that soda was essential, not optional. Today, we understand the damage caused by excess sugar consumption, but at the time, health warnings were drowned out by catchy jingles and smiling faces selling sweetness. The claims feel absurd in hindsight, yet they were convincing enough to make soda a household staple. These commercials turned sugar water into medicine, and an entire generation swallowed the lie. Candy ads promising popularity. Number 15 goes to candy commercials that exploited childhood insecurity. Campaigns suggested that eating specific chocolate bars or chewing particular gum would instantly make you more likable among peers. The message was painfully direct. Kids without the candy were left out while the lucky ones enjoyed social acceptance. Commercials staged playground scenes where sharing sweets magically transformed social status overnight. For children desperate to fit in, the implication was irresistible. Candy wasn't just a treat, it was the key to belonging. Parents often dismissed the ads as harmless fun, never recognizing the psychological pressure placed on their kids. The reality was that sugar companies were selling acceptance wrapped in foil. The manipulation was dressed up in jingles and bright colors, making it feel playful rather than predatory. Children compared candy collections at school, measuring friendship through wrappers and flavor varieties. Looking back, the strategy feels calculated and cruel, targeting the exact moment when kids are most vulnerable about their place in the social hierarchy. Candy may have tasted sweet, but the underlying message was bitter. Companies weaponized peer pressure to move product, and it worked devastatingly well. 14. Alcohol ads linked to sports. 14th place belongs to alcohol commercials that tied drinking to athletic achievement. Beer and liquor brands directly connected themselves to youth-favorite sports events, from football games to baseball broadcasts. From commercials showed fans cheering with drinks in hand, suggesting alcohol was inseparable from the sport itself. One particularly egregious campaign staged locker room celebrations with athletes spraying beer like champagne, sending the clear message that victory was incomplete without alcohol. The ads blurred patriotism with drinking, showing fans draped in flags while holding mugs in packed stadiums. To young viewers, the connection between sports heroes and alcohol made drinking look like an achievement rather than a choice. Teenagers absorbed the message that celebration and beer went hand in hand, a pairing reinforced by stadium banners and constant television spots during family viewing time. Parents and children alike learned that sports and drinking were natural partners, blurring the line between wholesome entertainment and adult indulgence. Today, the practice feels deeply inappropriate, but in the 70s, it was simply effective marketing. It made alcohol feel patriotic, celebratory, and essential to the fan experience. These ads normalized drinking for generations of young viewers who grew up believing champions and beer belonged together. 13. Fast food ads with all-you-can-eat claims. At 13, fast food commercials that turned dining into competitive binge events. Ads boasted about endless fries, bottomless drinks, and buffet tables stacked impossibly high with food. Families were invited to indulge without limits, as if overeating deserved celebration rather than concern. Commercials often showed children running back and forth with plates stacked higher than their heads, laughing like they were at a carnival instead of a restaurant. The entire atmosphere was staged to make excess look joyful, transforming gluttony into family entertainment. For teenagers, the promise of unlimited food felt like paradise. Friends could gather, pile plates dangerously high, and compete to see who could consume the most. Restaurants leaned heavily into the spectacle, using visuals of kids grinning with overflowing trays. The message was unambiguous. More food meant more fun, and more fun meant brand loyalty. Parents were encouraged too, told this was an affordable way to treat the family without breaking the bank. Nutrition never entered the conversation. What mattered was abundance, volume, and the thrill of eating without restraint. Looking back, these ads seem shockingly irresponsible, glorifying excess while completely ignoring health consequences. They planted seeds for a culture where bigger became better and restraint became boring. 12. Makeup ads, promising obedient women. Number 12 showcases makeup commercials that tied beauty directly to submission. Certain campaigns literally suggested that women who used their products would become more pleasing, more manageable, and more acceptable to men. The ads featured soft lighting, romantic music, and elegant slogans, but the underlying message was chilling. Cosmetics weren't about self-expression, they were about control. Models gazed longingly at men who looked on with approval, as though mascara or lipstick could transform personality into compliance. For teenage girls flipping through magazines or watching television, these messages established dangerous standards about attractiveness, meaning silence and obedience. The ads reinforced outdated gender roles under the guise of glamour, selling the idea that beauty equaled docility. In a decade where women were fighting for workplace equality and beyond, the contrast is staggering. It shows how desperately advertising clung to old stereotypes even as society pushed forward. Today, these commercials look more like parody than actual marketing, yet in their time, they were taken deadly seriously. They taught young women that their value came from pleasing men, and that the right lipstick could make them more acceptable partners. The psychological damage from these messages lasted far longer than any makeup application ever could. 11. Men's cologne ads with predatory themes. 11th place goes to cologne commercials that taught aggression as romance. Ads frequently featured men chasing women, cornering them in elevators, or overwhelming them with attention the moment they applied cologne. The message was disturbingly clear. The scent gave men power over women, making them irresistible and entitled to pursue without consent. Women in the ads were portrayed as helplessly drawn in, often against their will, as if cologne stripped them of choice or agency. What seems appalling today was framed then as playful or romantic, never questioning the predatory undertones. Teen boys watching absorbed a dangerous lesson. Confidence came not from respect or kindness, but from dominance and persistence. The campaigns were bold, unapologetic, and disturbingly popular across multiple brands. Parents may have dismissed them as harmless exaggerations, but the subtext was unmistakable to anyone paying attention. These ads normalized behavior that bordered on harassment, wrapping it in glossy packaging and seductive music. Looking back, it's shocking how accepted predatory themes were when combined with luxury branding. These commercials would never air today, and for excellent reason. They stand as reminders of how easily the line between attraction and aggression was crossed, and how advertising actively encouraged crossing it. 10. Household cleaner ads with no warnings. At number 10, household cleaner commercials that treated toxic chemicals like harmless helpers. Ads showed kids playing in spotless kitchens while bottles of bleach, ammonia, or industrial sprays sat casually on counters within easy reach. There were no child safety caps, no bold warning labels, and no disclaimers reminding parents to keep products away from children. Instead, commercials focused entirely on cleaning power, speed, and sparkling results. Some even showed children handling sponges or pretending to help with chores, dangerously blurring the line between safe participation and toxic exposure. Parents watching were encouraged to see cleaners as everyday tools rather than hazardous chemicals. The reality was far more dangerous. Countless accidents from poisonings, chemical burns, and accidental ingestion occurred during this era as colorful bottles sat accessible on low shelves and under sinks. The absence of warnings feels almost unthinkable today. Modern products feature bright hazard symbols, child-proof packaging, and explicit safety instructions. But in the 70s, cleaners were marketed with the same casual tone as dish soap, ignoring the very real risks sitting under every kitchen sink. These ads sold peace of mind while completely ignoring the dangers lurking in their products, leaving families to learn about toxicity the hard way. 9. Lead-based house paint. 9th on the list, lead-based house paint commercials that marketed poison in beautiful colors. Paint ads featured brilliant shades of red, yellow, and green, but what they didn't mention was that brighter colors contained more lead. The paint was marketed as durable and washable, perfect for homes with messy kids who touched everything. Commercials showed families painting nurseries and playrooms, never hinting at the neurotoxin being applied to walls. The paint looked modern and lasted for years, but it also chipped easily. Kids peeled it off windowsills out of boredom or scraped it with fingernails, creating lead dust that settled into carpets and was tracked throughout homes. Small hands touched painted surfaces constantly, then went straight to mouths. The lead didn't smell strange or taste unusual. It simply poisoned millions of children across the country, lowering IQs and increasing behavioral problems without obvious symptoms. Entire neighborhoods, especially older communities, were coated in the stuff. It wasn't until 1978 that lead paint was finally banned in residential use, and even after that, it remained in homes for decades. Removing it required hazmat suits and special permits, yet many families had no idea it was even there. It was a silent danger hiding in plain sight, one that looked beautiful while causing irreversible harm to developing brains. 8. Asbestos ceiling tiles and insulation. Number 8 features asbestos insulation and ceiling tiles marketed as safety features. Those popcorn ceilings and fuzzy pipe wrappings appeared in homes, schools, and offices everywhere throughout the 70s. Nobody warned people not to touch it. Nobody wore protective gear when cutting or installing it. In fact, asbestos was actively marketed as a miracle material, fire-resistant, soundproof, and easy to work with. Builders swore by it, and homeowners loved how quiet it made their spaces. Children sat through entire school years under ceilings packed with asbestos fibers. Families spent evenings in basements lined with asbestos-wrapped pipes. But what nobody knew or chose to ignore was how easily the fibers could break loose, float into lungs, and stay there forever. Asbestos exposure doesn't cause immediate symptoms. It creeps in silently, showing up decades later as mesothelioma or lung disease long after the danger has been removed. Once science finally caught up, the lawsuits began flooding in. Suddenly, that fluffy insulation everyone trusted became a liability nightmare. Contractors needed hazmat suits just to remove it, and homeowners were left wondering how many years they'd breathed it in. Today, it's banned in most applications and strictly regulated in others. But back then, it was just part of everyday construction, quietly destroying lungs one fiber at a time. 7. Formaldehyde in foam. Insulation in furniture. At 7, formaldehyde and foam insulation in furniture that off-gassed poison into living rooms. You could smell it in every camper van, basement rec room, and mid-century modern couch. That slightly sharp scent inside mobile homes, or the musty air in grandma's guest bedroom. That wasn't age or dust. That was formaldehyde baked into foam cushions, glued into fake wood paneling, and packed behind walls as insulation. It was cheap, effective, and absolutely everywhere in 70s homes. But it also off-gassed continuously, seeping into lungs while families watched television or slept on vinyl recliners. Exposure caused watery eyes, skin rashes, sore throats, and in prolonged cases, serious respiratory issues and cancer. The furniture looked sleek and modern, but the air inside many homes became increasingly toxic over time. Some people chalked it up to the new couch smell and never thought twice. But formaldehyde didn't care about aesthetics or style. The government didn't start cracking down until health complaints poured in from mobile home parks and camper communities where concentration levels spiked dangerously high. Even then, warnings remained vague and enforcement weak. Back then, it was just that smell people got used to, never realizing they were breathing carcinogens while sitting in their own living rooms. The commercials showed happy families enjoying new furniture, never mentioning the chemical cloud hanging invisibly around them. 6. Carbon tetrachloride in cleaning products. 6th place goes to carbon tetrachloride, the invisible killer under every kitchen sink. This chemical appeared in spot removers, fire extinguishers, and dry cleaning solvents throughout the 70s. It evaporated quickly, had no strong smell, and cut through grease like magic, making it seem perfect for household use. Housewives used it without hesitation, trusting promises of sparkling countertops and stain-free clothes. It was so common that people kept it in spray bottles, poured it directly onto rugs, or wiped it across oven doors without protection. But what nobody saw was how it worked its way into lungs and livers with every use. Carbon tetrachloride is now known to cause liver failure, kidney damage, and central nervous system depression. It's classified as a probable human carcinogen by every major health organization. OSHA eventually banned it, but not before decades of exposure left a devastating legacy. Families trusted the labels and the results, never questioning what they were actually breathing. The commercials showed women effortlessly cleaning while children played nearby, never hinting at the toxicity. There were no warnings, no protective equipment, and no acknowledgement of danger, just shiny surfaces and satisfied smiles. People believed they were making their homes cleaner and safer when they were actually poisoning themselves one wipe at a time. 5. Cigarette ads on primetime TV with celebrity endorsements. At number 5, cigarette commercials during family television hours with celebrity endorsements. Before advertising bans took effect, some of the biggest stars in entertainment openly endorsed cigarette brands during shows families watched together. Popular actors, athletes, and talk show hosts lit up on screen, promising smoother flavor or cleaner smoke with genuine enthusiasm. The ads weren't relegated to late-night hours. They aired during programs like The Brady Bunch and other primetime favorites. Entire families watched their favorite celebrities recommend specific brands, turning those cigarettes into the cool or trusted choice. The commercials made smoking seem not only safe but glamorous, framing it as a natural part of modern successful living. What makes it deeply unsettling now is how openly these ads invaded spaces where health should have mattered most. Children were exposed constantly, absorbing subliminal messages that smoking was normal adult behavior. Parents received reinforcement that their habit was socially acceptable, even admirable. The shift from primetime endorsements to complete bans shows just how dramatically cultural understanding changed. But back then, lighting up with your favorite star felt like the most natural thing in the world. These weren't just commercials, they were cultural permission slips, signed by the most trusted faces on television, teaching kids that smoking was part of growing up successful. 4. Toy ads with zero safety. Disclaimers. 4th place belongs to toy commercials that marketed weapons directly to children. lawn darts with sharp metal tips, BB guns firing real pellets, and chemistry kits packed with explosive chemicals were all pitched to kids with zero safety warnings. Commercials made these products look adventurous and thrilling, showing children running through backyards or mixing bubbling concoctions without adult supervision. One ad actually showed kids launching lawn darts high into the air, cheering as weighted metal spikes landed in grass with no adults anywhere in sight. Another proudly boasted about chemistry sets capable of producing real explosions, presenting danger as part of the fun and learning experience. Parents were left to assume products were safe simply because they appeared in television commercials during children's programming, but the truth was that injuries were common and often serious. Stories of accidents spread quickly through neighborhoods and emergency rooms. Despite this, companies doubled down on the excitement factor, turning hazards into selling points by emphasizing the thrill of real action and danger. The ads glamorized risk, painting it as an essential part of growing up and becoming independent. Kids begged for toys, never realizing they were essentially asking for weapons. It took countless accidents, injuries, and eventual lawsuits before regulations began reining in the worst offenders. Until then, commercials sold pure excitement with absolutely no mention of the very real risks. 3. Weight loss ads, pushing amphetamines. At 3 weight loss commercials that casually pushed amphetamines as diet aids. In glossy magazine spreads and late-night television spots, energy pills were marketed as the perfect solution for rapid slimming. Ads promised not only fast weight loss, but also increased energy, improved confidence, and elevated moods, all in one convenient pill. Teenagers and adults alike saw these products as modern miracles, never realizing the addictive dangers hidden inside colorful capsules. Amphetamines were presented as completely harmless aids, often alongside images of smiling women in bikinis or business attire looking impossibly thin. Actors posed as doctors or real physicians were selectively quoted, lending campaigns a false sense of medical authority. For young women especially, intense societal pressure to stay thin made these ads incredibly powerful and nearly impossible to resist. Families flipped through pages that treated dangerous stimulants like harmless dietary supplements, no different than vitamins. The shocking part is how normalized it was, as though popping addictive pills was equivalent to drinking coffee or tea. These ads ruthlessly exploited insecurity, particularly targeting vulnerable demographics struggling with body image. The long-term consequences included addiction, heart problems, and serious psychological issues, but none of that appeared in the cheerful commercials. Companies profited enormously off desperation, and regulations came far too late for those already hooked. 2. Cigarette billboards near elementary schools. Second place goes to cigarette billboards deliberately placed near elementary schools. These towering advertisements loomed over sidewalks where children walked daily, making smoking look playful, exciting, and completely normal. Companies filled billboards with friendly cartoon mascots, colorful lettering, and smiling faces that looked closer to comic strips than health warnings. Kids waiting for school buses couldn't possibly miss them, and many grew up associating smoking with fun rather than death and disease. For tobacco companies, it was strategic brilliance, plant brand loyalty early, long before children could legally buy their first pack. Parents complained frequently, but with virtually no restrictions at the time, tobacco companies had free rein to place advertisements wherever they generated the most impressions. These billboards turned entire neighborhoods into persuasion playgrounds, normalizing cigarettes for complete generations of children. The fact that they towered casually near elementary schools is shocking even by 70s standards, yet it was considered clever, aggressive marketing rather than predatory behavior. It took years of sustained public outcry and mounting health campaign pressure before regulations finally banned the practice. Until then, those billboards stood as bright, smiling invitations to lifelong addiction. They weren't just ads, they were grooming tools, targeting children too young to understand the manipulation while their developing brains absorbed the colorful imagery day after day. 1. Beer ads, featuring pregnant women. At number 1, the most disturbing commercials from the 70s, beer ads featuring smiling pregnant women. These campaigns actively promoted alcohol to fetuses, showing expectant mothers raising bottles in celebration. The ads claimed certain beers were so mild and gentle that even moms-to-be could enjoy them without worry or guilt. You would see women with visibly pregnant bellies toasting with beer, suggesting that drinking was simply part of a healthy, normal social lifestyle. At the time, widespread public knowledge about fetal alcohol syndrome was limited, and advertisers ruthlessly exploited that knowledge gap to their advantage. They leaned heavily into the idea that lighter beer meant safer indulgence, positioning their products as appropriate for literally everyone at the table. Neighbors and friends genuinely believed the messaging, treating these ads as medical reassurance that moderate drinking during pregnancy was perfectly acceptable. Looking back with modern medical understanding, it's absolutely chilling to realize how casual the tone was, almost identical to advertising orange juice or iced tea. tea. These commercials essentially encourage pregnant women to consume a known teratogen, one that causes irreversible developmental damage to unborn children. What was framed as a simple lifestyle choice then now stands as perhaps the most shocking and indefensible advertising misstep in history. These ads didn't just sell beer, they sold permanent neurological damage to the most vulnerable population imaginable, wrapped in smiles and false reassurance. Before you go, drop a comment with the ad that shocked you most. Hit like if you learned something disturbing today, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into advertising's darkest chapters. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.